Recent studies suggest that long-term exposure to heat can accelerate the aging process. And for those who've reached senior status, the heat can have a variety of negative effects. Here to tell us more is Will Humble. He's Executive Director of the Arizona Public Health Association. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ted. My pleasure.
The impact, heat and aging, pretty big, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we've been on the show and talked about this before, especially this time of year, especially in July and August, about how dangerous the heat is for seniors. Maricopa County Public Health has done some reports on that show like the acute effects of heat and the risk of dying from the heat. And there's more than 600 deaths last year, a big chunk, more than about half of those being people over 50. So we've known for, especially living in here in the desert, we know how dangerous it is, especially for seniors, and it's been getting worse. But there's been some recent studies that show that not just the risk for acute death, but like limiting longevity may be something that the heat does too.
Yeah, we got like a 2019, I forget when the study was, but it showed that living in Phoenix, actually, I think it was quick sooner than that, more recent than that.
Oh, it's really recent, yeah.
It diminishes your lifespan.
This is, okay, so this was a study, it's published with USC, it was in a good journal. What they showed, they looked at epigenetics. So this was not an epidemiological study. They looked at the methylation of people's DNA, and you can use that to measure how quickly people are aging using an algorithm. And they're estimating that in a climate like ours, the Phoenix area, that just living here ages you 14 months faster over the course of a lifetime than if you were living in, say, you know, a cooler place like Prescott or something like that.
Wow, does that surprise you?
Yeah, honestly, the acute stuff doesn't surprise me at all.
Right,
I mean,
that makes sense.
I've seen it for my whole career. But that people age more quickly because of the heat, and after I started thinking about it, it made some intuitive sense, really, because, you know, think about when you're heat stressed. I mean, your organ systems get stressed. Your blood chemistry changes, you get dehydrated. I think it makes some sense that over the course of many, many summers, that would have an impact.
All right, back to the idea, the acute death, as you call it here.
Right.
Diminished physiological responses to heat. Older folks have diminished responses.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Especially as you get past, say, 75 or 80. And many people watching the show will recognize that with their parents, where you walk into their house and it's like 82 and you're thinking, what's going on here? They're like, well, you know, you turn it down to 79, they get cold.
Yeah.
So, yeah, your ability to recognize what's a comfortable temperature, and that also influences how much hydration, like, are you, you know, because hydration is part of this. When you're in a warmer place, when it's hotter, when your air conditioner is set at 82, you need to drink a lot more water because your body's using water more quickly.
But as you age, as you get older, that ability to recognize thirst, even the ability to sweat, I mean, those are reduced.
I mean, think about the people, there's 80s and 90s that you know. I mean, a lot of things are reduced, and this is one of them.
And pre-existing conditions, that doesn't help matters any, does it?
That's correct. And we've known that for a long time with the acute deaths that we see. And, of course, homelessness is number one, far and away the biggest risk. Dying from the heat.
What are we learning? What else are we learning about heat and aging? I mean, I understand, you know, the idea, the genes and the DNA and the changes made and the changes observed. What else are we learning?
Well, there was another study that came out this week, and this was in Taiwan, and they followed a cohort of people for 15 years. So this is a big study with lots of participants, epidemiological study. So it wasn't a lab bench study like the first study I talked about. And what they observed there is that the number of heat waves people live through influences how long they live. And they found like a dose-response relationship between the number of heat episodes that a person lives through over that 15-year period and like a diminished or more rapid aging. So it wasn't super pronounced. It was like living through two major heat waves in Taiwan resulted in aging 9 days more quickly per episode.
Wow. I mean, that's another one. Does that surprise you?
Well, at first it did. And the deeper I dug and the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, think about what heat really does to your body. It's, all of us know we're living in Phoenix. Everyone around here knows what it's like. It's stressful.
It stresses you, yes.
Even if you're drinking lots of water, you can feel what it's doing to your body. So I don't dispute the findings, honestly.
What about the socioeconomic factors here on heat vulnerability, those living in low-income areas and such?
Yeah, so this is from a study in Maricopa County where it's a pretty clear relationship between being able, having air conditioning, having functioning air conditioning, being able to afford the electricity to keep your thermostat at the right level, and then living in a mobile home is all of those things put people at higher risk for heat-related illness and heat-related deaths here in the desert.
All this information, are there public policy issues, are there public policy avenues to take that you would like to see leaders go? I mean, and maybe nothing concrete, nothing firm, but in a general direction, is this kind of stuff gaining traction? This kind of information?
I think for some people it is, and for some people it isn't. But going back to that policy question that you had, I think the policy thing that we are not addressing adequately is related to homelessness. Because if people who are unhoused are at 500 times the risk for dying of heat-related illness. Of course, that makes perfect sense if you're living outside. But a big chunk of those folks are people with a serious mental illness. And under the Arnold versus Sarin agreement that we executed when I was in the agency director job, they're supposed to be getting permanent supported housing. And a lot of them are on the waiting list, and they're on the streets. And so in terms of policy, if you want to reduce heat-related deaths, the thing to do is to do a better job getting folks with serious mental illnesses the housing the permanent supported housing they need.
Last question before you go, just today, just this afternoon, Director of the CDC, gone, adios, out of here. What's that all about?
So I tried to find out on the way down to the show. I called a couple of people I know that still work at CDC. There was no email to staff saying I'm leaving or I got fired. They found out on article from the Washington Post. It's still a developing story. So CDC director is out, and we'll see who's coming next. General consensus is that she was probably talking back to Mr. Kennedy, then he didn't like something that she said, and now she's gone.
Real quickly, was she noted for saying anything about vaccines or anything about other public health issues that might run contrary to RFK Jr.?
What folks are talking about is the shooting at CDC a couple weeks ago, where she was really getting out front with staff, being very compassionate about it. She was really speaking clearly to the media about the problems that this caused at CDC, that shooting. And there's folks that think that shooting and her response, which was compassionate, was one of the reasons why she was fired, or maybe the reason.
And fired on a day when we see what happened up in Minnesota.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Will Humble, Arizona Health Association. Good to have you here.
My pleasure. Thanks.